I found out about the Zimbabwe elections that are happening on the 30th of July from my friend Debbie. Okay, she's also from Zimbabwe. What I wish from Zimbabwe as a South African student from UCT, I just wish them prosperity and peace, and I just want their, I think, economy to just get better and keep growing. I think with the different changes politically and all the things that happen in Zimbabwe, it would just be a good thing, a good thing if they get a president that understands what the country needs and, can take the country much further politically.
I heard about the Zimbabwean elections on Twitter. I saw it trending, and then I saw Dr. Cindy van Zyl doing a trade on it, and a lot of people are speaking out on it, as well as on radio. What I hope for Zimbabwe, I just hope that they don't have a mini Mugabe situation, and that the new dawn actually is a new dawn for everyone and not for some people.
I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of Zimbabwean internationals, and they follow it extensively, and because of that I'm also following it. But I'm just disappointed in my fellow South Africans who aren't following it as extensively as we are. And I'm even more disappointed in our media outlets who aren't running, or at least they're not pushing it, as hard as they should. Because this is a very important election, not only for Zimbabwe, but also for SADC as a whole. And I feel like there should be more emphasis on this election. And I feel like that's all we should be speaking about, but we're not. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of South Africans and it's not a topic of discussion. So, yeah, that's my problem with it. And I just, barring my political, standpoints and biases, I just hope this election goes well and there's no violence. And I just hope that, the people get to choose for once, Because, the last election was a mess. And I hope this one's not as bad.
Today is quite an interesting day for me because my country is going through election, the electoral process, and we also have these two big contestants. Like we've got Mnangagwa for ZANU-PF on one side, and we've got Chamisa, young, vibrant, on the other side, standing for MDC. As a Zimbabwean living in South Africa right now, what is it that I can do that can maybe put us in a better situation in Zim? To be frank, I don't think I can do much, except what I've done already in the morning. Call my family, hey guys, you did well by registering to vote, go and vote now. And yeah, that's what people did, like just to get them to vote, because recently people lost faith in the electoral process. They're like, okay, you know what, we're not going to vote because nothing changes at all. But this time around we've got, like, people are quite hopeful, it's quite fearful, like it's frightening to think that a lot of people for the first time are talking about, no, there's going to be a dawn of a new era next week and stuff like that. And the last time I saw Zimbabweans so united and quite sure about something was last year, when we eventually experienced a different leader in terms of presidential candidates in Zimbabwe. So yeah. And about what South Africa can do for Zimbabwe, South Africa has already done much. Like, we are here, we are accommodated quite well, but as a country, I don't think they can do anything. We can't put pressure on Zim. It only affects our families back there. If you put more sanctions there, like to say, no, we don't want that. I think South Africa can just wish us well. that will be fine. And apart from that, everything will go on well. And my hope is that it goes well, like peacefully, because if you go on the media, it's no secret that people are saying, if the election goes either way, like there's promise for violence so far on either way. Like, if MDC wins, then ZANU-PF is gonna say, no, you didn't win it. If ZANU-PF wins, MDC is gonna say, no, you rigged the votes, because clearly we have the votes. So there's that notion that's in the air. But recently in years, people say one thing and they vote another on the paper. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you had a lot of supporters during your campaign days, then people are gonna vote for you, because that decision changes every time.
My name is Vinod Naidu. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Studies at UCT. Well, you've asked the question, it's an election without Mr. Mugabe, and I think obviously that is significant given the number of years he was in power, but also given the demographic of a large number of voters who have known no other options but Mr. Mugabe. I think in that sense it is a watershed election for Zimbabwe. But having said that, Mr. Mnangagwa is part and parcel of the system and the regime which Mr. Mugabe led. And so as much, I think, as he's been trying to turn over a new leaf, particularly attracting investment into the country, I think, I suspect most Zimbabweans will, I think, recognize the significance of an election without Mr. Mugabe, but I'm sure a great deal of them will be quite skeptical about how much of a change a reformed, renewed ZANU-PF is going to be under President Mnangagwa. So, I suspect there's pretty healthy skepticism, but perhaps a recognition of the symbolism of today. The significance of the election, whoever wins it, and I suspect that Mr. Chamisa's been making, he's made an impact in terms of the way that he's shifted and gotten the MDC stabilized and focused and in a position to fight a very strong election. But whoever the victor is, I think the real importance of this election is not going to be seen until some days hence, where we see what kind of an administration and what kind of an agenda is the new government going to pursue. Was it possible at all to put in place some kind of infrastructure, either at Zimbabwe's embassy or consulates, to be able to allow this large number of Zimbabweans to vote? That ultimately would fall to the country itself, but it's also, it's politically sensitive, because if it's the case that the majority of Zimbabweans in South Africa would have voted one or both ways, that could either be threatening or supportive of the governing party.
That's true.
And so those kinds of political calculations probably would have been made.
Yeah.
And I suspect the belief would have been that most Zimbabweans here would have not voted for ZANU-PF. And hence, why put the infrastructure in to allow them to do so? I don't know if there are postal votes, but apart from just the question of the means, there's also the willingness to have allowed that. And I have heard that there are a number of people who have raised doubts about how credible this election will be. And already in that atmosphere, it's not likely that much would have happened here to enable Zimbabweans to vote who don't live there. So that kind of sort of long-term stability for Zimbabweans to build careers, build lives in a society in which there is stability, there's financial stability, there's employment security. So that is my hope, that there's a realistic chance or there's a realistic pathway of getting there, because I think that there are a lot of Zimbabweans who would rather be channeling their energies and their talents into rebuilding the country rather than being here or being elsewhere.